because Tottenham, and I don't want to do this because it's disgusting, but fair play. That was a really strong performance.
Spurs have just beat Manchester City 2-0. 2 wins out of 2 for Thomas Frank in the Premier League. 2 clean sheets as well, and 2 very dominant performances from Thomas Frank in the Premier League, showing what he can do, how he can maximise the Spurs team, get the best out of players like Saul, who was phenomenal again today. Richarlison's looking great. Kudus is looking back to his best. He's really showing what he can do. And Thomas Frank hasn't really had anyone in the door other than Polinia and Kudus. We'll talk about players that they're going to play regularly. And there's still a lot more to do in terms of creative players. He's obviously missed out on Morgan Gibbs-White. He's obviously missed out on Eze. Obviously, Kudus, Eski and Maddison's injuries are not great. But what an early impression he's made. And Tottenham have to back Thomas Frank this summer. They have to go and get him a top number 10 profile in a creative type player. They have to back him because Thomas Frank is showing what he can do, how he can improve the Spurs side, how he can set them up so they're quite defensively secure, harder to beat, the press. He's showing what he can do, but he's not a miracle worker. He's not a miracle worker. But I thought that Tottenham were fantastic. I think the minute Tottenham went 1-0 up, they were just super dominant. I thought the game was quite equal to begin with. City had moments. Marmoush could have scored, good save from Vicario. But the minute Tottenham went 1-0 up, and City had to come out and City started to leave some space, the physicality of Tottenham Hotspur was just too much for Manchester City. And, Tottenham were dangerous on transition. I think had City scored first and Tottenham needed to break down the low block, maybe it would have been a different game.
It's always been. When it was called the Carling Premiership, when it was called the Barclays Premier League, when it was whatever it's been called, has always been physicality. Physicality, and that doesn't only just mean being big and strong. That means being able to be that means athleticism, getting across the pitch, getting around the pitch. They are the basis of the best Premier League teams. Even when you look at Man City in 17-18, you look at the way they press, you look at the dynamism of their team. The ability to get about, the ability to be able to shift your opponents is so high in the Premier League, and we saw that fully on display today. Tottenham were physically on a different level to Manchester City. A different level. Man City have the ballers. We're going to get into their players. They have the ballers. But the physicality, the effort and the desire that Spurs played with today was different. You look at João Painha in there. You look at Pape Sarr. I'm going to talk about him. You look at Bentancur, the back four. Richarlison up there, the aggression he plays with, the dynamism that Kudus plays with. The physicality that Spurs showed was just on another level to anything you even saw last season. Now, look, with Ange, they're playing the high line, they're playing that way. With Thomas Frank, it's a completely different way. And this is the first time they are keeping back-to-back, I think, clean sheet. Last game was the first time they kept clean sheets since February or something. And now they've kept back-to-back clean sheets. That is a drilled team. That is a team that understand exactly what they need to do on the pitch. And that is down to Thomas Frank being a brilliant coach and being able to get his team structure correct and fully allow them to understand what they need to do on the pitch when they get on it. The press was aggressive. You saw for the goal. Yes, James Trafford should be doing a lot better. And I'll talk about him. He should be doing a lot better. But Spurs had already penned them in. There was a moment that Mickey van der Ven was like a steam train, bro. He was running. Mickey van der Ven was pressing the goalkeeper. I couldn't believe it. The physicality they played with. Every single time I felt like they were in a 50-50 or even challenging a City player, they were running them over. And if they don't get the ball, they're taking the man. It rattled City. It moved City. And you can see that perfectly on display today, man. You can't stress how important the physical level you have to be in the Premier League. It's high. And of course, not all the players in the Premier League are going to have the highest physical level. There's going to be different aspects of their game which shine through. But when you're talking about the basis of a team, I just felt like Spurs looked at Man City and thought, you ain't as strong as us. You can't duel with us. You can't go 50-50 with us. And they performed that way. They absolutely performed that way. And I've got to give them massive credit for that.
To be honest, beating 2-0 at home against Spurs. Is this just a bogey team going to the Etihad and beating them, or there are actual problems at Man City? Everyone told me that Man City are ahead of Arsenal. Everyone told me that, yeah, maybe Man City will come back and win the title. Pep Guardiola doesn't do back-to-back bad seasons and all the stuff that has been talking. We'll talk about it, but before we go on and talk about the problems at Man City and how brilliant Tottenham Hotspur were today against Manchester City, this is Judge Mo. Make sure to hit that like button underneath. It looks like thumbs up. It helps the channel move to the next viewer. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you are new here, and leave a comment below. And I'm going to ask you the first question. Do you think Man City have a systematic problem or a systemic problem, or is it just a flash in the pan and they just lost the game and they're going to bounce back and we cannot rule out Pep Guardiola and all the talk that has been happening over the last month or two after the season ended last season with Man City finishing third and the problems they had without Rodri? And is this just because Rodri was not there and he didn't start and he came on in the second half? Do Man City will fix their problems in the coming games when Rodri is back? I'm just going to tell you what I think about this, and I'm going to tell you my opinion about this. The number one thing that I keep saying about Manchester City, and I'm going to start with Man City, is the creativity for Man City is lacking massively. Yes, Reinders have had a great game, and he's a good midfielder, but he cannot do it on his own. Because Tottenham would pack this midfield. And this is going to be the theme that is faced against that Manchester City will face for the majority of the season. Also, building from the back, not playing Ederson was a mistake. Trafford is not up to the task. They pressed him. They pressed the Man City defense, Tottenham Hotspur. With ease, though, they picked up some passes. And we saw the second goal. It was just a simple bad pass from James Trafford. And that's why I say if Donnarumma joins Man City, these problems are going to happen. Because Pep Guardiola does not do long balls. That is not his game. He's not going to just go long for the majority of the time. He's going to try to play from the back. And if he doesn't have a goalkeeper like Ederson, he's going to have problems. And that is what I said before. That's why he changed Joe Hart. That's why he changed Claudio Bravo to go to Ederson, who has been a loyal servant.
0, Tottenham 3. Manchester City 0, Spurs 3. Do you hear me? Do you understand me? Do you comprehend what I'm saying? I don't usually speak too tough on these two teams because, for different reasons, there isn't almost beef with City. There isn't really rivalry, but they're title contenders, so I'm keeping a close eye on them. All four of them eyes on them. And then with Tottenham, there's a cap, there's a ceiling to how far they'll go, purely because, at the very least, their transfer strategy can be stinky, as we've seen in the last couple of days. But just because it's a title contender, and that's the talk I am involved in my opinion, Chelsea. And also, just because I cussed Tottenham to the side camera a couple of days ago, I really cussed, I really crucified, I really came crazy on you. Pause. I'm going to talk today about that performance. That's the Tottenham camera, and this is the City one. You disgraceful today. Disgraceful. Listen, it's game week 2. Everybody can have their everybody can have their funk. But Tottenham at home, a Tottenham team with Maddison injured, a Tottenham team with Kulusevski injured, a Tottenham team with Solanke, £65 million striker, still coming back from and on the bench. A Tottenham team that missed out on Eze and Gibbs-White this summer. A Tottenham team with a new manager that is bedding in new ideologies and instructions. You have lost, not only lost, I'm going to give Tottenham their credit in the other camera very soon, but you have lost. And not only have you lost Manchester City, you have been absolutely battered, blammed, bamboozled, bruised, booted. I cannot quite believe what I've watched. Honestly, I predicted a 2-1 City win. I thought it would be a close game. I knew Thomas Frank, or as Expressions calls him, Thomas the Frank engine. I knew that he would come correct with his tactics and he would bring a really good, kind of pragmatic, deep block when need to be and press and all the right triggers and moments. Remember that Brentford win at the Etihad a couple of years ago with Ivan Toney? That's the kind of manager you're dealing with here. He's very tactically astute. He's very tactically flexible. He got different systems and different strokes for different folks. So I'm not expecting a blamming or a battering. But with City, with all of those options out on that pitch, for all of them to be silenced, like Oprah Winfrey, silenced. Were you silenced or were you silent? Cherky, Reinders, Gonzalez in midfield. All of them dominated from start to finish. We didn't really see much of Haaland. He had a few headers, he had a few opportunities, but nowhere near as many as he would have wanted, right? And then whether it was Oscar Bob, who had a bright start, Mamouche, bright-ish start, both of them very lively, very wiry, very intense in their approach in the first maybe 5-10 minutes. But again, were you silent or were you silenced? Because Tottenham, and I don't want to do this because it's disgusting, but fair play. That was a really strong performance. That's the type of performance that if Arsenal put in, if Liverpool put in, if Chelsea put in, we're talking, wow, that's a statement. That's the statement of title contenders. That's the statement of potential champions. That's a big boy performance.
Spurs pretty much for majority of the game. And when I say majority, I mean a good 70 minutes or so, especially when Ainori came off. But smash the likes. I'm excited. I'm happy. Subscribe if you're brand new. Any Spurs fans know me? I have a lot to say about Spurs, and it's never very great either. So here I am. But look at that. Aye, that's amazing. Oh, Spurs, you played absolutely fantastic. You played sublime. I've got a phone call from Deji. Give me 2 seconds. Deji, I'm just doing a record. At the moment, mate. You happy though?
Just make sure you roll out a red carpet for Man later this evening.
A red carpet for Tottenham. All right, just for you.
I want a phone at the back of my seat.
All right. I'll try. I'll do my best. I love. You're gonna ask, where's Daps? Well, Daps is actually in Morocco, but Spurs played absolutely sublime, fantastic. I don't actually have a lot of describing words that are not in my daily use of vocabulary to describe, but we can go through the game and break it down as I usually do. So, first and foremost, congratulations on a win. That's another clean sheet, which is again huge. 5-goal difference in the league. Can that continue? I'd say yes. Frank is clearly a superb manager, and this is why I wanted him at Manchester United beforehand. Tactically flexible, plays to the strengths of his players, and he gets the best out of all of them, pretty much getting an extra 10-15% if he can. Kudus is a prime example of that. And what I mean by that is, whilst everyone was saying, oh, I don't know about Kudus in a bad season at West Ham, as if West Ham aren't crap, it's just stuff like doubling up.
Wow. Tottenham Hotspur, fair play. That is a masterclass. Manchester City, it's like you own that ground. It should be called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because right now, these brothers go there and win majority of the time. Why did they sack Ange? This Thomas Frank's becoming a problem, This Thomas Frank will be a problem for Tottenham and the Premier League, because this guy knows what he's doing. This guy's got a balance. This guy today came to the Etihad and outclassed Pep Guardiola. Deep that. It's 2-0, but the score flatters Man City. The score flatters Man City. Could have been 3.
What do we do when we're facing the world's toughest challenges? We keep going.
3, could have been 4. Let me just look at Tottenham's record here at this ground. 3-2, they lost 4-2, 3-3, 4-0 last season, and 2-0 now. That's one loss in the last 5 visits to the Etihad. Today, man, the tactics to Man City. Cherky. Riders. Mamouche. Where are they? Missing. MIA. Missing in action. Brother. This ain't the Ligue 1. You know what I'm saying? Reinders. Brother, I had you in my fantasy. I brought you in. I thought you were going to do something.